Tony Adams. I think the only query there is obviously whether he includes Big Dave Watson rather than Mark Wright. Sure. But I think the rest of the side is very settled, Des.
This is Lausanne, and here are the teams coming out now. You have live pictures, and you can enjoy the whole game here with us on Grandstand now. And our commentators there this afternoon, Jimmy Hill and Barry Davis. Good afternoon to you, gentlemen.
Good afternoon to you, Des, and to everyone. Welcome to the delightful city of Lausanne on the north shore of Lac Le Mans, Lake Geneva. We're very much in the French-speaking part of Switzerland, where we have a rather grey afternoon after a day and a half of pretty torrential rain. Certainly one night and one afternoon it was coming down absolute stair rods, as they say. The English supporters are in the main over to our right. The atmosphere at the moment is nice and relaxed. We're waiting for the national anthems as we look at the national flags. And it's a nice touch. The national costume and being worn by some very young members of this country of 26 cantons. They're not really counties as we know them. They're states that have their own constitution, legislation, and so on. And they're doing a total lack of this Olympic Stadium. This, of course, is the home of the International Olympic Committee, Lausanne, and they are bidding here the city for the 1994 Winter Games. That's the first time that the Winter Games will not be held in the same year as the Summer Games. I mentioned it had been raining quite hard since we've been here. The pitch has certainly needed it. When Bobby Robson and the England players first trained on the pitch, they felt it was a little hard and bumpy, and indeed the manager asked that it should be watered, but the rain has taken the sting, the edge out of it a little bit, and the players of both sides, I'm sure, will appreciate that. I mentioned that we're in the French-speaking part of the oldest republic in the world. One of the languages is Italian, and our referee this afternoon comes from Italy, Luigi Agnolin. And if the name sounds familiar, it should be because he was the referee in the European Cup final in midweek. And I imagine that he, like us, is hoping that this afternoon he'll be involved in a rather better match. But the other languages here, French, Italian, German, and a curious language called Romance. And there are members of all those tongues included in the Swiss squad. And now, a little belatedly, we wait for the imminent playing of the national anthems. And it was nice to see that the cries of England were silenced as the Swiss national anthem started. And that's the England team. Bobby Robson refused to tell a Swiss journalist yesterday whether it will be the side that will start the European Championship. But I think it's fair to say that he would like it to be if things go well today. And of that number, Mark Wright surely has the most to play for. The Swiss team includes 5 of the defending champions. Neuchâtel Xamax, whose title is actually really on the line because they play their last match and it's still not sure next Wednesday. But included in that number is their most famous footballer winning his 85th cap today, Heinz Hermann. They've only won 7 matches out of 20 under the reign of Daniel Jean Dupeur. But perhaps more significantly, looking at it from England's point of view, they've only been beaten twice at home during that period. And there's a man whom we're hoping to see add to his considerable tally of goals, Gary Lineker. 25 goals, this is his 32nd international. And said, a nice, relaxed atmosphere, and that, Jimmy Hill, is precisely what we want.
It is indeed, and it will be interesting to see the pace at which the game starts, because I did see that Holland-Bulgaria match, and really it wasn't a bunch of football matches, an exercise really, just a practice match. Holland, without many of their Eindhoven players, really just strolled through it. Ruud Gullit, really strolled around the park, wasn't going to get injured, and Bulgaria couldn't believe it that the Dutch allowed them to get 2 goals at the end of the game, so don't take too much notice of that. Whereas England had a really stern test in a marvellous match against Colombia, and both sides offering all that they could of their own particular styles of football. So it'll be interesting to see today what kind of match it's going to be. It'll be shown very early on whether they're going to go flat out. One of the things I think Bobby Robson will do is not overplay some of his key players. I think maybe 60 minutes or even 45 for players like Beardsley to give them just enough and not too much at this stage and not burn them out after a hard season before the start of the competition. So a test for Wright and Adams, a test really for Peter Shilton, I think, after his performance the other night, not needle sharp, and they're the ones who will be trying to prove to Bobby Robson that he can't do without them.
Tell you about a score in the playoffs. Bristol City 2-0 up at Walsall now. It's 3-3 overall. This is for a place in Division 2.
So the kick-off here imminent. A match in which the managers have agreed that there may be 3 substitutions plus the substitution of the goalkeeper, and Bobby Robson has already announced that Peter Shilton will play only the first half. England attacking the goal to our right, and the ball with Wright. Swiss tend to play with 3 players up, 2 of them wide. John Barnes. Adams at a bit of a stretch. Just away with a little nudge, I think, but here's Robson, and here's Lineker, just onside. And the first test for Clement Boeuf, which he meets very well, the goalkeeper. Barnes. And the bright, enterprising start. And Joel Clement Boeuf, only playing his 2nd international. His first was against West Germany in Kaiserslautern a month ago. And he said then that better to start against a big team than somebody of lesser note and concede a silly goal. He played well then, and he started well here. John Barnes for England. And now the Swiss for the first time, with Hermann making a break to the left, to the right rather. Adams slipping, but even so, a goal kick. Heinz Hermann, who certainly bears a passing resemblance to the famous Günter Netzer. Franz Beckenbauer, the West German manager, made it quite clear that he wished the name Hermann, in fact, was, as it sounds, German and available for his national side, that he was the best player in midfield in the meeting of the two countries. Stevens is well forward. Gary Stevens on the right. Mark Wright in possession. Away from Bickel. Offside against Gary Stevens. Just a little breeze, but no more. Certainly not enough to affect the match. Geiger plays as the spare man at the back, with Weber as the marker in front of him. The Swiss, when they have possession, certainly have players wide. It's the old-fashioned left winger on this side and the right back on the far side. Hermann. Weber. And the challenge from behind. A comment from Adams, which is cut short by the Italian referee. Baum trying on this left side now with Bonvin. Bicker. Hermann. Comes to be seen by Stevens, who is balked by Hermann. Free kick for the obstruction. Webb. Idea was good to get it in early to Beardsley. Bickel. Very upright in style. Geiger. A little ambitious. Just a few early whistles too from the home crowd. Haven't seen an international match here on this ground in Lausanne for a year. Last was against Sweden, whom they held 1-1, which might make an interesting comparison for England, seeing as we're with Sweden in the World Cup group. Beardsley battling away. Free kick. That's a good challenge by Perret. Adams has gone up on the far side. Wright is going to join him. Barnes is, I think, coming to take it. Lineker just left for the penalty spot there. Robson has made it 4 England players. He's the one on the far left as we were looking. There's space here for Barnes to have a crack if he wants to. Chipped up instead. Nobody really coming onto the header. They'd all been stuck forward. The break was Vicker. Sanson recovered well. England bench. Don Howe. Coach Bobby Robson, I think, up in the stand at this juncture. Bickel. Got Schillybaum on the touchline. But he ran down a cul-de-sac. That's a good challenge by Hermann. Well spread out, looking for Sutter. Finds him. Vicker in the middle. Bonvin also. Barnes chucking in front of the fullback, but they don't come away with it as well as they had intended. Schubert. Got it back to Geiger, in possession now. Build up is slow from the Swiss and at times a little wayward. Trevor Stephen of Everton. 2-foot covering. Herman. That's Daniel Jean Dupeux, coach of the Swiss side. Used to be an international winger. Bickel. Geiger. Looking for Bonvin. But it wasn't the pass of the necessary vintage.
Torquay have equalised against Swansea. Caldwell has got that goal. It's 5-4 to Swansea overall in the place for a place in Division 3.
Met by Perret, but not well. Beardsley didn't really, I think, make up his mind what he was going to do, but he gets the free kick for being bundled up in Swiss paper. Robson on the ball, Lineker out to the left, Trevor Stephen this side. Is Gary Stevens, spread out immediately by Beardsley. Stevens got a bit to do here. Webb. Adams did well. Flag must be up for offside. 2 England players caught. All the officials from Italy. It's the 15th meeting between the two sides. England have won 9 and the Swiss 3. The last meeting was 7 years ago in the World Cup. And the Swiss beat us and caused a few problems thereby. Herman, the only survivor in their lineup, and Sanson and Robson in England's. Right. Stephen. Lineker gets away from the marking. Bobby Robson not joining the applause, but I think in his mind he might have been. Didn't find the finish, but it was a cross that caused the note. Assuming he's not writing his postcards home, I rather doubt it. Lineker nearest the goal. Met by Bonvin, and Webb couldn't keep it down. Quite a crowd in front of him.
Quite a bright start for England. They've very determined start in many ways. They've made 3 chances already, half chances, 2 of them stopped by the keeper. One, Gary Lineker's first touch wasn't up to his usual standard, but his pace made up for it on that early chance and forced the goalkeeper to save. There's that blast of Webb's over the top, not the finish we expect, but an enterprising start and suggesting quite good things to come, I would think.
Good play by Kenny Sanson, who in the end was pulled back by Bayat Suter, one of the Neuchâtel players, and one of the German speakers. In the entire squad, there are 10 who speak German, 5 who speak French, 1 Italian speaker, and 1 Romance. Their coach is French-speaking. Take for some lively comments that may not always be understood in the dressing room. Barnes from deep. Looking for a hobble ball, but not finding it. confess I'm guessing, but I believe that is the British ambassador here. Webb. A little bit cramped then for Style. There wasn't much width around. Stevens. Adams. Lineker. That shows that in spite of the amount of rain, the pitch is still pretty hard. Put up. It's Christophe Bonvin. Square has been given. Bonvin pinches 3 or 4 yards and was in danger of handball, and that was not a good challenge by Mark Wright. Committed himself, suddenly found himself being grabbed by the hand by the referee. Good referee, this Louis Giannini. Tends to take the game with a smile and is very unfussy. Geiger. There's space for a moment on the right. Vicker on the near post. Nicely controlled by Stevens. Everton attack on this side. Stevens. Liverpool getting involved in now Manchester United. Ever Steven has got away, but didn't get a pass that he could move on to. Definitely Webb and Robson form a little bridge, the drawbridge of which they were able to control in front of the back four then as the Swiss had possession. Herman's made the forward run. Good head up by Adams. Beardsley spending a lot of time out on the left. Here's Barnes, who's wandering a bit, which is rather good to see. Stevens. Left the shooting chance a little bit late, actually.
A few minutes to go in the playoffs. If things stay as they are, Chelsea are heading for the second division, Middlesbrough for the first. It's all square between Walsall and Bristol City at the moment. And Torquay 4, Swansea 5. These are the aggregate scores with just a few minutes to play. Let's pick up the Swiss again.
And it's all square here in Lausanne with a little over 15 minutes gone in England's last warm-up contest before the European Championship. Perret, Philippe Perret, a man whose place is going to be under some pressure from the scorer of the goal in the under-21 match, Thomas Viz. Sutter. Herman. This is when he wasn't able to control that. Perret. But I heard you refer to the excellent goal that Thomas Viz scored. I think we should also say that the equaliser was also a very fine goal by Paul Gascoigne. Right. Not one of Robson's better passes. Camembert injecting a little pace. Geiger. Poor pass. And Schellebaum having to work rather hard. Looks a bit red in the face to match his shirt. Right. Care with which Peter Shilton was watching that bounce.
I was just wondering how you assess a goalkeeper's form just before a European competition when he doesn't get a shot or a cross or anything to deal with, which is the case at the moment for sure.
Lineker loses out to Bickel, but at the expense of a free kick and a little knock on the shin for England's Barcelona player. Supporters come from all around the country, including there's a Chelsea flag there, inevitably. I thought they might have other things on their mind. Herman. Nicely done. They like to play it out, and the challenge there wasn't a particularly good one. Herman. Bickel, time's a little casual. Seems to want time too. Vicker. A pleasant afternoon for playing football, in marked contrast to yesterday. This time yesterday it was absolutely teeming with rain, but in spite of that, the Swiss, who could hardly see each other across their training pitch, were endeavouring to train. I won't bore you with the story of how wet those who were watching got. Weber. Don't often see a Swiss player touching the ball just once. Bickel. Was a need in the end that Geiger should. Sandy Pro looking a little anxious. Vicker. Herman square. Bonvin calling for it on this side and gets it. Well won. We would have got it, but for the good challenge by Stevens. Geiger. Barnes. Well, I would say something around 10 or 15,000. You can pick out the shouts of the players, hear them quite well. Stephen with the cross, Geiger with the header. Stephen can try again. Robson pulls back to give a little space for himself. He receives. Three for cutting out the intended through ball. Past the 20-minute mark. No score in what is so far a warm-up match in every sense. Weber. Free kick has been given for the challenge by Sanson on Vicker. And identify the English player's voice. We want things livened up a bit. Don't think we'd argue. Herman. And getting tight is Peter Shilton. Robson. Beardsley starts to go, pulls back. Barnes. Here's Beardsley. Plays it on instead for Trevor Stephen. Webb. Bit of a dive in by Herman. Adams. Lineker starts to move and has to come back because he's now offside. Covered by Chupert. Back pass, a little testing.
Middlesbrough are in Division 1 for next season. Chelsea go down to Division 2. Chelsea won 1-0 on the day, a goal by Dury, but the 2 goals that Middlesbrough scored in the first leg of the playoff final was enough for them. They're up to the First Division, and Shilton has the ball in Switzerland.
And Bobby Robson, and you at home saw the first real employment there of Peter Shilton. I wonder whether among the Chelsea despair there will be consolation for Tony Dorigo. That's one of the decisions that Bobby Robson has to make. He says he's going to announce his squad for the European Championship after today's game, as soon as he knows about fitness of Dorigo and of Gary Pallister. And maybe he's going to have to make a choice between the two. And there are 1 or 2 on the subs bench here this afternoon, and we're hoping they'll get their chance to get the manager's nod at the 11th hour. Alan Geiger, his 50th international. Chupert fighting off a bit more than he could. That's nicely switched to Robson. Massive England players forward here. Something should come from this. Met in fact by Shelley Baum. Trevor Steven. Good dummy. Still the opportunity. Canny play by Herman, but only to Barnes. Sansom, Barnes. Trevor Steven is unmarked over this side. Barnes. Faber got to it just ahead of him, but it came off the England player for the goal kick.
That was more like it. I was just thinking with Barnes how in a way he's fallen from grace from being at a peak where everybody was talking about him as the most exciting football we've seen in years. You know, one bad cup final, front players find it hard to maintain confidence all the while because they play in such tight spaces, and there all of a sudden the tension was released. He laid it and went for it and created that half chance.
Shelley Baum. Usually the sort of noise accompanied by the cowbells one hears on Ski Sunday. Geiger. And the crowd want to see a little bit better from their team. 2 against 2 here, right header. Only does Vicker, sets it up. Well, he had an option on either foot then, and rather suggested that he preferred his left, but he didn't get it quite as he wanted, did he? There was half a moment. Brought it back, side foot shot actually, and it's certainly by coming to his left, he gave himself more space. Here's John Barnes. A lot of space here for Neil Webb. Steven. Steven. He usually has 2 to take on down this flank. He's getting into a lot of forward positions, Trevor Steven, but he hasn't as yet looked likely to produce something from those positions because he's had too many for company in red shirts. And I think you know this gentleman by now. Four in the area, 2 of them central defenders on the attacking beat. Barnes Well blocked. I don't know how much he knew of it. I think it was the head of Tony Adams, who comes to fight to get the ball back and fouls in the process. But instinctive reactions from Joe Kommenberg. Stick on the near post, and then Adams, Barnes who took it. There was the flick. Yes, it was indeed Adams. Webb. Stephen. He's done one. Two. Quite a considerable effort, not the third. Bickle. Promising again. Robson. Beardsley wide to the left. Kenny Sanson runs 20 yards to support him outside, and he's given the ball. Kenny Sanson! Flag stayed down. Lineker had stayed just onside, but a nice attack, and great credit to Kenny Sanson, who really beetled forward to be in the correct position. He's hurt himself a little bit in the process. That was the end of the move, which was no great credit to Kenny Sanson, who, as against Scotland, got forward really well and was a useful cross. Kommenberg, a little bit fortunate, the punch was rather down. It's Perret. It's the Swiss throw. Throw will be the other way.
And Swansea City have been promoted to the third division. They drew 3-3 at Torquay today. 5-4 on aggregate, the final score. So Swansea go up. Just to remind you, let me tell you that it's still 3-3 in aggregate scores between Walsall and Bristol City. Bristol City 2 up on the day. They might have to play again. But in case you've just tuned in, Chelsea go down to the second division and Middlesbrough are promoted.
Still no score here in Stade Olympique in Lausanne with half an hour gone. Only one side has looked likely to score, and that's England. Barnes. Adams. In some respects, it would be nice to see the Swiss play a bit better, because if there are doubts in the mind still of Bobby Robson about his two central defenders, there aren't too many questions being asked about them by the Swiss players at the moment. The ball stays inside. That's what matters, not where the goalkeeper's feet are. It's a very competent goalkeeper, this fellow. Taken over from Martin Brunet, who had the job for a year. Herman. Bickle. Great applause for forward movement. Sutter, Bonvan in the middle, so is Vicker. Out by Webb. Comfortably picked up by Stephen. There's Gary Stevens on the right. Neil Webb moving forward to the left. Lineker comes across the area. That was a good cutout by Geiger. Robson. He turned into a bit of a problem then, Brian Robson. It must be noted by players around the world that he likes to turn onto his left.
Yes, I was just watching Gary Stevens there. He's right on top of his form, full of confidence, full of running, overlapping at every opportunity. He obviously doesn't want Viv Anderson to take his place, and I think if I were the manager this afternoon, it would secure that one position, although there is some doubt about Viv Anderson's fitness, and more will be revealed later in the day when we see what the final 20 is.
Bonvin getting the better of Stevens. Adams having to work a bit hard. Bonvin, Adams, slightly unorthodox style, ending the danger. Christophe Bonvin from FC Sion, 23 years old, 11th cap. Out by right. Hesitation by Shelley Baum. Webb. Beardsley plays it early. Lineker. Support coming from behind. Fell between Robson and Barnes. Lineker. They're queuing up, England. Disappointing end to that.
In the match for a place in Division 2, Walsall and Bristol City finished 3-3 on aggregate. Walsall won a penalty shootout and will stage the third match at Fellows Park on Monday. And just to tell you that unfortunately there's some crowd trouble at Stamford Bridge after Chelsea won today but were defeated overall by Middlesbrough and are relegated to the second division. A fair bit of crowd trouble at the ground after, unfortunately.
After that news, I'm pleased to be able to tell you there's been no crowd trouble of any sort here in Lausanne, in spite of some dire warnings made during the course of the week in some quarters. Webb, Lineker, right. Stevens, Webb moved too soon. Lineker was poised, but Webb had gone offside. Herman. How many throat lozenges Peter Steele can get through in a season? Constant shout from the back, which I'm sure you can hear. Weber. Herman. A little bit wild by Adams. Didn't need to make the challenge, needed just to stay there. Vicker and Bonvin and Perret, number 6, through to far side. Chester's the referee of Gary Stevens. Nice ball up the line that started this attack. Webb, Barnes, Schubert facing him. Sanson supporting. Plenty of England players forward again. And with this number getting forward, it really is about time we had a score, I think. Oh, put up given. There's a message there for Perret. You should never let the ball go past you in that position. You don't know who might be coming from behind. Weber. The languid Herman. Rather hard-pumping Shelley Baum. Hans-Peter Zwicker. Denied the shot by Robson. It's Sutter. Herman. Oh, he's got a bit of room, Herman. Thinks about it. Thought about it too much. Geiger. Perhaps amounts to the, I'm going to say, the most pressure we've seen from Switzerland. It came to a very unhappy end for them, and here's Beardsley going down the middle, but the pass from Lineker really wasn't quite crisp enough. Barnes. Again, Sansom in support. The pass was a good one, so was the pullback. Well intercepted by Weber. Bonvin. Pretty leggy player. Sutter. Bonvin's gone down the middle. Zwicker now to the right, Zwicker to the left. The corner. So Switzerland's first set piece. Bickel to take it. Bonvin just outside the area, as is Sutter. Bonvin, another corner. He was beaten to the head by Wright. Zwicker, the player in front of Shilton. Weber up number 4. It's curling to Weber. Goal kick.
One thing England are proving, that they're a difficult side to play against. I mean, they're doing religiously, sticking to all their defensive disciplines as if points were at stake in this match today. The Swiss are a little impatient of their crowd at times because they can't accomplish anything against the 8- and 9-man defence that the England team have got there to break from all that while. So we are, if not that exciting up front at the moment in finishing off moves, we're proving ourselves a disciplined team that's not easy to create anything against at all.
Nice combination. Referee playing on, although they were 2 feet high. The Swiss bench. I hope at some stage they bring on Kubilay Turgilmas, who is a pretty quick player. Meantime, England have a free kick. Beardsley takes. Stevens guarded this left side well. Webb a little unlucky. Now Bonvin. It's a corner. Bickel taking them from either side. Herman on the edge of the area. Zwicker in front of Shilton. Weber. Schubert. Herman. Bonvin. Just got a little away from Gary Stevens, but the angle was always going to be very difficult for him. They were 5 minutes away from half-time. Still no score. England's 9th international of the season. Tiger. 1 defeat during the course of the season was in Germany in September. Never been a happy month for England sides in recent years. Nobody filling the hole in the middle. Barnes doing the defending job, but conceding the free kick. John Barnes seemingly indicating that his opponent dived. Bonvin taken a position on the 6-yard area. 7 is Sutter, 4 is Weber. There's Bonvin, number 11. Herman takes it. Bonvin won it. But it got a deflection from the challenge, and there's another corner. Switzerland ending the half with a few corners. 3 on the trot. Vicker comes away. So can Barnes now. Quite a chase. Vicker is running alongside him. Lineker! Would have been nice and a reward for a lot of industry from John Barnes. How did it fall for Gary Lineker? He took it on the full, tried to steer it wide of the goalkeeper's left hand, and gave it a bit too much. Again. Adams across. Peter Shilton, having completed a 50th clean sheet against Scotland, on for a half one here before he goes off. Wicket given against Bonvin. Mark Wright. Gary Stevens. Barnes pulls back a little bit to receive. Sanson down that touch line, in fact more in the inside left position, now going wider. Adams in possession. Webb comfortably turned to find some space. With a sweeper coming across, that asked a bit too much of Lineker. Sweeper, the spare defender. Right, well watched. And very sharply, the referee blows the half-time whistle. And we have no goals here in Lausanne. And Jimmy Hill, half-time report.
Well, after, 3 hours of commentary this week, Barry, I think you deserve a goal, but you've got all but a goal to describe. Not too bad from England's point of view. They are very reliable in defence. They've not conceded a chance, really, for the Swiss to score. And there are some good signs. Wright and Adams stood up well in the middle. They've not been put under that much pressure, but they've done all right. Sansom looks in form. The Everton pair on the right have linked up well. Robson not in top gear, but strolling through the game, not risking injury. But Beardsley and Barnes still haven't really recaptured the magic that will turn England from a pretty good side into an extremely good one.
So at half-time, nothing to report from the terraces, which is good. And in terms of goals, nothing to report from the playing area either. It's Switzerland 0, England 0.
Thanks. We'll be live back there for the second half of that match. There are things to report from the terraces at Stamford Bridge, I'm afraid. There's been crowd trouble there after the match today. Chelsea are relegated. Middlesbrough go up. They won 2-1 in aggregate overall. That's confirmation of it. Chelsea won 1-0 on the day, but they go down to the second division. A good win for Bristol City at Walsall today gives them a 3-3 aggregate. Walsall won the penalty shootout to hold the replay on Monday on their home ground at Fellows Park. And Swansea, they've gone up to Division 3, 5-4 on aggregate, having drawn 3-3 today. Well, now Chelsea scored pretty early in the match today against Middlesbrough, and the omens were good at that point. Have a look at it.
This little pass through, Dixon's touch, and Wilson to Nevin. Nevin's chip, Dury! That has opened it up. Now we really have got a playoff on our hands. Nevin has always looked dangerous taking men on, pulls back the cross, first time from Dury, and Pear's stranded.
Well, that was a good goal. Jerry Sinstadt still at Stamford Bridge. The crowd moving away now, but there has been some crowd trouble there, Jerry, hasn't there?
Yes, Desmond, I'm afraid Chelsea went out of the First Division with more credit and dignity than their fans. Players had no sooner left the pitch than the hoodlums attempted to take over. The invasion started from the Chelsea shed end, and it was contained and turned back by a very calm response from a small body of policemen. But that precipitated the kind of things you're seeing here. This was about 10 or 15 minutes ago. Senseless, naked hatred that continues to stain English football. Missiles thrown, a policeman carried off on a stretcher, blood-stained spectator taken away by ambulance, and a number of arrests.
So sad scenes there. This was earlier on, I take it.
This was earlier on, yes. This was in fact the crowd invasion that was very well contained by the police, who avoided confrontation, didn't come rushing on, held the police horses back, and just a dozen men on foot calmly walked on and turned them back. But it was after that that the trouble started on the terraces, once the spectators had been cleared from the pitch.
We better switch to some thoughts on the game itself, Jerry. What sort of match was it in the end?
Well, it was really a very good match, Desmond. Chelsea did everything they could possibly have done, I think. They played with a great deal of confidence and control at the back. They restricted Middlesbrough to only 3 or 4 shots on target. Joe McLaughlin was outstanding. And after Dury had scored the goal that you showed in the 19th minute, it did look as though they might be able to pinch the second and take it to another game. But Middlesbrough, for their part, played, I thought, very calmly. Pallister and Mowbray very sensible at the middle of the defence, and they didn't get sucked into helter-skelter football. They just kept their shape, kept their discipline, and in the end kept their nerve.
Thanks, Jerry. And the Middlesbrough fans clearly still there inside the Stamford Bridge ground. So Middlesbrough go up, Chelsea go down. As far as a place in the second division is concerned, we don't know yet. Bristol City won 2-0 at Walsall today, which was a great performance by them, 3-3 overall. Larry Canning now reports.
Bristol City put on a tremendous performance to come back from the dead of a first leg 3-1 deficit and bring Walsall to this replay. In a first half which they totally dominated, they got the first important goal in the 31st minute when fullback Rob Newman got his head to an Alan Walsh corner, and although the ball was cleared, the referee said the ball had crossed the line. But that goal brought Walsall to a rousing start to the second half and put City under severe pressure. David Kelly brought keeper Keith Waugh to full stretch to save. Phil Hawker had a header cleared off the line, and when Walsall looked right on top, City broke away to score again in the 65th minute when Carl Schutt beat Barber with a low shot. Walsall have since won 4-2 on penalties to decide that the replay is here at Walsall on Monday.
And Swansea City drew at Torquay today, which was enough to send them up to the third division. Frank Partridge now reports.
Say what you like about the fourth division or a playoff series that keeps the football specials running until the last Saturday in May. This was a magnificent game played at hectic speed on a November-style mud path and overflowing with good things. In the first half, goals were flying in almost as quickly as you could write down the scorers' names. Rayner and McCarthy for Swansea to give them a 4-1 aggregate lead after 27 minutes. 2 and 6 minutes by Torquay's free-ranging right-back Jim McNichol, 4-3 to Swansea. On the stroke of half-time, a fine strike by Alan Davis put the Welsh side 2 in front overall. Torquay, driving forward in the rain, hit the bar, McCarthy again, and then reduced the deficit to 1 when a David Caldwell header sneaked in. That made it 5-4 to Swansea overall. The playing conditions were now farcical, but the standard of play was quite incredible. And finally, amidst the mayhem, it was Swansea keeper Peter Guthrie who emerged the hero and took them into the third division with 2 brave and inspired saves in the closing minutes. Consolation for Wales on the day of their rugby disaster, but spare a thought for the losers. I'm sure Swansea will.
So a good day for Middlesbrough and Swansea City, both promoted. Well, England, of course, have got the European Championships on their mind. Back live with their match in Switzerland in a moment. 0-0 at half-time if you just tuned in. Meantime, we're going to switch to the European Judo Championships for a few minutes. That's been taking place over the last week or so. And reporting now is Gerald Sinstadt once again.
Pamplona in northern Spain, famous for the running of the bulls, attracted a rather more subtle sporting gathering to the Pavilion Arrosadilla. 4 days of competition in the European Judo Championships, attracting packed houses for both days of the finals. For the first time in a major competition, the players wore coloured suits rather than plain white with distinguishing belts. Britain's representatives included Diane Bell, current world light middleweight champion, and Elvis Gordon, the big man from Wolverhampton, for whom great things have been predicted. Neil Adams, beaten in the British Open last month, wasn't picked for Pamplona, but he's working hard and hopes to demonstrate better form in the Sardinian Open this weekend. Diane Bell, here in blue, showed clearly why she's been the best in the world for the last 2 years. Begonia Gomez, her opponent in the light middleweight final, had the backing of a naturally partisan audience. But Gomez had no answer to this drop shoulder throw for Yuko and 5 points. Gomez almost certainly knew this was coming. It's the move that wins Bell many of her decisions. But like many another victim, the Spanish girl couldn't defend against it. Then Bell established a hold that impressed Gomez rather more quickly than it did the referee. It was only after prolonged contemplation that the official decided that the hold was good and the count could begin. Gomez had escaped from an earlier hold, but this one was so effective she hardly moved throughout the 30 seconds. Diane Bell.
Well, we came out of that rather quickly because we thought half-time over in Switzerland was going to be 15 minutes. In fact, it's 10 and the players are on their way back out onto the pitch. We'll show you those judo championships, those European judo championships on another occasion. Perhaps we'll squeeze them in tomorrow. I'll leave that to Steve Ryder. He makes decisions about things on Sunday these days. But a quick word from Bob Wilson here before we go back to Jimmy and Barry there. What did you make of that first half?
Well, not brilliant, Des, obviously, but the one good sign from England's point of view is that they did create 4 good goal-scoring chances, which is quite a good ratio in a period of 45 minutes. Now, 2 fell for Gary Lineker, 1 for Tony Adams, 1 for Kenny Sansom. Adams was obviously the one who was slightly unlucky, although you've got to credit the keeper for a great save. But that is, it's 4 chances in a European Championship finals coming up. That would be good, obviously, as long as they convert. But that's the positive side. No.
OK, it's all yours now to Jimmy and Barry.
You should know, Des, that in Switzerland in particular, time is money. And there have been a few changes in the 2 teams for the second half. We're looking at number 15, Martin Andermatt, who's come on for Switzerland, but from England's point of view, they now have Chris Woods in goal, Chris Waddle playing on the right side from midfield and forward, and Dave Watson has joined Mark Wright in defence. So Bobby Robson now playing the 2 he wanted to play against Scotland, but couldn't because Wright was injured. They last played together in a deluge in Israel. Pere is the player who's gone off for Switzerland. And of course the England player, Shilton's gone off from goal, as we said he would. Oh, more important is Bobby Robson says he would. And Trevor Stephen has gone off. And Tony Adams. There's Dave Watson. Watson's challenge, but it comes down to Bickle, who has a shooting chance and gets applause for the fact that he did try. Chris Woods, who's never been on the losing side for England. This is his 12th cap. 7 wins, 4 draws in the previous games he's played. He's only conceded 1 goal. Won by Weber. Webb. Right. The best challenge he's made in the match, but that's better. Nice control. Waddle. Lineker. Free kick has been given in England's favour. Robson. Beardsley is over this way. Schubert. Geiger. Good work from Barnes and not such good play by Geiger. Presence of Andermatt gives Grasshopper Club a representative on the pitch. Right. Referee says no foul. Schellbaum. Herman. Here's the substitute. Andermatt. Played as the man at the back in place of Geiger against the Germans and did well, but he's now playing in his club position in midfield. Free kick for the foul on Chris Waddle. Bobby Robson said of him yesterday that he's not yet, as he would describe it, razor sharp after his hernia operation. I'm sure that it was perhaps in Waddle's case the best expression to use. Always looks a little languid and often doesn't shave before playing. Right. Barnes. Played inside more than wide, with Beardsley playing wide most of the time. Wearing number 9. Robson. Sanson. Certainly recovered his form after uncertainties at the club, Arsenal. That's a good challenge by Andermatt, nobody moving for him. And in the end he plays a poor pass, but in fairness to the ball carrier, nobody offered him an option at all. Robson. Releases Lineker.
That pass there from deep is the one that does give the room to drop for a front-running player to get on top of it. We've been sort of building up attacks and then trying to play that through ball with a sweeper and a goalkeeper coming out to cut it, to cut it out. But that occasion it was played from deeper and earlier and gave Lineker the chance to get away. He was only just a fraction away from getting to that.
Martin Weber. The official crowd figure given at 10,000. John Barnes. Still the pace of practice match, which hasn't really varied too much. But now Neil Webb. Beardsley now wide on the right. Supported by Gary Stevens, finds Webb instead. I think they found a useful goalkeeper in this Joël Commenboeuf. Webb. Well watched by Weber. Schubert. Herman. Never really got out of second gear, Heinz Herman. Geiger. Lineker is forward. 4 moving from midfield. Beardsley in possession. Waddle on the right. Lineker looking for the early one, which isn't going to come. 2 other players. Waddle might set himself up. Bickle does well. A bit more appreciation from the home crowd. It's Chupert. Herman usually has to be involved somewhere in the move, but showing no relish for going for the return ball into areas where he might get hurt as a result. Bobby Robson noticeably not sitting comfortably. Watson. On for the long throw. On the edge of the long jump bit. Positive header by Watson. Area of his game of which he shows great authority. Bonvin. Got a long way to go. And Lineker makes some observation to himself about the lack of the marker then. Could so easily have gone wrong for Weber. Oh dear. A little wild by Wright. And Vicker. Well, the free kick was taken while the referee was talking to the central defender, which is not quite as it should be. Vicker. Bickle. But again, he had 10 yards to move into, but played the square ball. Herman. Offside. They get back to Luton after tonight's match. The England players will get a break until Friday when they reassemble. Play a match against Aylesbury on Saturday, the winners of the Beezers Home League. Herman. Must have heard me. Herman again. Watson who cut him off, but it's the first time I think we've seen Herman really penetrate or endeavour to penetrate the last third of the field. Bickle has Vicker in front of Woods. Herman and Suter just outside the area. Bonvin, good punch by Chris Woods. Geiger. Bickle. Paul Swiston in the area. Suter. Flag is up for offside. Referee lets play go on, and rightly surely. Poor return ball, that a little casual. This is Andermatt, 3 in the middle. And the cross beating everybody. Bickle. Slight change in the atmosphere in Lausanne. Good strike, but Woods knew where it was going and that he didn't need to do anything about it.
The England team beginning to look a bit of a mess, I'm afraid. It's they can't make up their minds whether it's a practice match or whether it's a very important final match against strength before the main tournament. And Some are doing one thing, some are doing the others, and they do look disjointed.
And that wasn't the best decision I've seen this season from a linesman. You've probably picked that up. Let's stop playing, come on. That's a great ball by Spicker to Sutter. He's disappointed. England are relieved. It was a tremendous crossfield pass, but not the accuracy in shot. Spicker, the little number 9 who played it, and Sutter didn't hang about, but he didn't quite get it right. Switzerland, who have struggled to score goals since Claudio Sulso was forced into retirement because of injury. Play was a bit of a thorn in our side. Referee looks at the linesman and has given a free kick. The players were unsure, and I confess so was I.
He takes his time making up his mind, this referee. He's one who's not going to get excited this afternoon or do any extra running. But at the end, he's given a corner, which is an even stranger decision than the first one.
Beardsley will take it. Not a good one. Robson. Waddle. Beaten by Herman. And a pull by Waddle on Andermatt. Free kick quickly taken. Philippe Bonvin. Heinz Herman, but not the German. Barnes. And again Barnes. Loses out to Geiger, won by Robson. I think it's beginning to get a little bit irritated. No flag this time, and here is Peter Beardsley. Lineker is up with him, and England have a 1-0 lead. But I have to say, I think the linesman who called a curious offside a few moments ago kept his flag down then when I believe he should have raised it. But England have the goal. Beardsley, not for the first time in his international career, supplying Lineker, who certainly not for the first time in his career finds a telling finish for his 26th goal for his country. It was Robson's determination which won it in midfield. Well, on second thoughts, I think that may well have been not offside. Lineker is the goal scorer. Well, I've said one thing and then another, Jimmy. Was it offside or not?
It was very tight. I don't think the Beardsley was offside, but I think the player in the middle was offside first time round, and supposedly interfering, which was Lineker. But it doesn't matter now. It's strange, this game, isn't it? After the Swiss, the best period that they've had in the game, unsettling England, making them look poor, they then go a goal down.
Here's Beardsley. Stevens. Waddle. Lineker had to check again before moving back and moving forward again. This is Webb. Beardsley. Unlucky. I don't think there's any question about Beardsley in that move, but one's first impression was that Lineker was offside, but the replay did seem to suggest otherwise.
It's all history now, and can I congratulate you on scoring a goal, Barry?
It's Weber. Bickel. Just a little nick was enough. Herman. Baum. Interesting challenge by Gary Stevens. Webb. That's the position with an hour gone. The scorer, Lineker. Barnes. Good battling by Barnes. Nice, neat, tight control. Put in by Geiger. And the challenge by Robson on Bickel. Caught the Swiss player's ankle. Stanton taking plenty of time. Right. Right. Haven't seen Wright carry the ball forward in the match yet. Free kick against Weber. French raise of eyebrows. Maybe spoke most about it. French speaking Swiss, to be accurate. Switzerland in the qualifying matches for the European Championships finished fourth in a group behind Italy and Sweden and Portugal. Pretty tough time for them, but they held the Italians at home 0-0 and the Swedes at home 1-1. Robson. He started the move for the goal. Take it on was the instruction to Wright, or the encouragement to Wright, but he didn't answer it, really. Beardsley, offside. Not against him, but against Stevens. Baum. He seems to have to work very hard for everything that he does. Suter. Schubert. Beardsley. Waddle was flattened off the ball. Shot came from Andermatt. Robson. Webb. Lineker. Did he keep it in? No. Kicking against Robson. Certainly been more aggressive in this second half. Woke things up a little bit. Oh dear, oh dear. Free kick against Gary Stevens. Herman. Bonvin, two waiting for the cross. Barnes is the covering player, didn't make it. Bickel is too short for him. Andermatt. Waddle in the right back position. Barnes took it well and has released Webb, who's offside.
can see there the England teamwork with that long cross came over from the left with the defenders outstripped by it, that there was Barnes back picking up the last man. They do that rigidly. They've worked very hard at that. It doesn't make interesting or exciting football, but there's another Swiss substitution.
They brought on Kubilay Turkilmaz in place of Philippe Bonvin.
I know you've been waiting to say that all afternoon, that player with a difficult name to pronounce, Turkilmaz. But the England players did get up a gear when they scored that goal. But I'm afraid that when we read the Sunday papers tomorrow, the headlines will not be brilliantly in favour of a splendid display, especially as there's been just a little bit of discontent between the press and the England party with regard to the way in which the hooligan thing has been reported. But you could say the team has done so far just enough for a final trial.
Offside against Beardsley. The thing about the substitution made here by Jean Dupeux is that Turkilmaz, who's the youngest player in the squad at 21, plays for Bellinzona, only just become a Swiss 2 months ago, is Turkish descent, and he's a player much in demand. Neuchâtel Xamax have offered 3 players and £500,000 for him. If he's given possession, he might ask a few questions about the England defence, which is really what we're asking. Herman. That's a useful ball to Weber. Everything to his left, including a terrible cross. They made sure. Beardsley. Into Sansom. It's good to see that Sansom has rediscovered his zest for the game. Can be a telling factor when he gets forward to support an attack, because he's very quick. This was all behind the shot from Sutter. I think a lot of people who said that Kenny Sanson's failure as an attacker has been in the final ball, which certainly has been true over the years, were a little surprised by the quality of his attempted chip against Scotland, which was really quite superb. And he wins the ball too. On that occasion he gave it away. Oof. Perfectly fair challenge by Watson. No messing, as they say. Sutter. And the midfield didn't really cover very well then. Came off right. Herman. It's a throw, England's way. People wanting the free kick. Ball clearance by Gary Stevens. Not a particularly good pass by Herman. He gets through. Watson Strong header. Herman. Geiger to Andermatt. Comfortably taken by Chris Woods from Cupid. Lineker. Andermatt. Tekin starts to run at the England back four, but isn't presented with the ball. I don't think he's actually had a touch at a setting moment yet. Foul by Watson. Thomas Tupert of FC Arau is the injured player. He's only an amateur, part-timer. He's a banker. And yet his club are fully involved in the battle for the championship. Zamax and Arau have one game to play, and they both have 30 points. But Arau are away from home. Lunging challenge. Produces the free kick.
I was just thinking that Watson had done pretty well since he's been on, full of confidence right from the start, but that was really an ungainly challenge, not an international. Oh, what a good shot. Well saved by Woods. Brighten the game up there. It's even pleasant to see the Swiss have a hammer at the goal.
Shot from Bickel. Stevens.
Waddle just hasn't been able to get in the game at all on that right wing. It's one thing playing wingers, or supposed wingers, but you've got to get them much more service of the ball than these two have got wide out on the line. They're marked very tightly with the sweeper system. They've got a man on them, but there's Beardsley put Lineker through again. But the linesman, who's had the most testing afternoon of all over there, decided that that one was offside.
Herman. Coming back across the England line. Tupert. Herman. Suter. Out by Watson. Good header. Geiger. Everybody had come back. There was no outlet then for England. And 15 minutes for the match remaining. England leading by 1-0. Gary Lineker's 7th goal of this season in an England shirt. Sanson. Webb. Bickel. Comfortably away from two challenges. This is Turkin-Mas. His expression was adequate comment on what happened. Stevens. Bickel. Tupert. Still the Swiss keep possession. Driven by Marco Schillibaum. As his two names suggest, is of mixed Italian and German parentage of the Swiss country. Robson. Barnes. Beardsley. Barnes. Forward for Sansom. That's too strong. Geiger. Free kick is going to be given. Herman made the greater appeal. Bickle. Serious and unnecessary pass, the one to Weber. Just a chance to do better. Herman. Schubert. A lot of movement from Turkey Yilmaz, but too much. Tried to move across the back line. Suter, Vicker. Return really didn't work. Comes to Chupert. What we've seen so far, as we look at the right back of Switzerland, or Chris Waddle, has been as a right back for England.
Well, the disciplines that they are keeping right up to the end of this, what might be called a practice match in some ways, are as if it was in a cup final or a championship. I mean, at this stage of the game, they're not putting more men forward than is necessary. Robson's not getting into there's probably Robson come down the line. He's making one more substitution. He's only allowed to make 3 outfield players. He's made 2 of them. And Reid, I think, is going to be the one to come on to sharpen things up a bit, probably for Neil Webb, who's had a sort of steady nothing afternoon. And there goes Reid.
That's a great tackle. It's a very, very good tackle by Mark Wright. But an indication, at long last, I have to say, of the pace of Turkey Yilmaz. It was a full stretch tackle that needed to be made, and it was, and I'm sure it would have done Mark Wright a great deal of good. And Peter Reid is coming on to replace the skipper. A pat on the back from the England supporting team, and Reid immediately assumes the captaincy. So Brian Robson, with his history of unlucky injuries, just pushing himself 2 or 3 times in the game, on one occasion to start the move which led to the goal. Andermatt. Webb. Don't know where he's going. Offside against Turkey Yilmaz.
I think that's a precaution in taking Robson off at this stage. If having got so far and into a major championship without an injury, not to risk anything in the last 15 minutes. But if the result today was really important, I think you'd have to have taken Barnes off, because he's having the most uncomfortable time. He's doing his defensive job, as you can see there, sticking to him like a leech, but really his presence is requested in doing more entertaining things up front.
Herman. Bickle. Almost all over the defence, but running to Chris Woods. Reid doing the shouting. Barnes supplying the pass. Lineker's cross had its movement taken away by Weber. Hermann. Free kick. And a substitution to be made by the Swiss. And Bickel is coming off to be replaced by Moutier. Bickel of FC Zurich. Our second division side is replaced by Daniel Jean Dupeux, by Patrice Moutier of Neuchâtel. Number 6 representative on the field. Played by Geiger. And the mat. Waddle. Didn't really manage to get away in those strides. But here's Beardsley. Lineker looking to see what support there is. 3 on the 18-yard line. Barnes. Lineker can't get through. Vicker. Sutter. Blocked by Gary Stevens. Hermann. Oh, Watson gets away with a ball that's rather stuck between his ankles, and Lineker goes from his own half. Is onside, Commonwealth out to meet him. And he was well challenged by Marco Schallibaum, who had to make an awful lot of ground to get in a challenge, but did. Commonwealth sits it out as the ball goes wide, and the corner is given. Came from the clearance by Watson, the flick on by Beardsley. And from the corner, England in possession. This is Barnes. Reed. Peter Beardsley among those to have a fairly quiet game. Been in good company. Nice touch, but Kenny Sampson unable to take it in stride. Waddle. Yes, he's made himself the room, but still couldn't get the height on the cross. Five minutes remaining. And England still the goal to the good. Waddle. Peter Reed. Moutier. Hermann. Weber. And a rare moment of noise from the English group here. Mistake in defence. Vicker. And there was an appeal for handball, which is waved away. In fact, when the free kick comes, it will be in England's favour. Hansen going in now with the challenge with Zwicker, but Zwicker turned him round and pushed at the same time. But it was a moment of uncertainty in the defence, that's for sure. Herman. Suter, Herman, Zwicker in the middle. Schellebaum. Oh dear, Sansom! And what an opportunity. Andermatt. And twice in a matter of seconds, England in all sorts of trouble at the back.
I was just going to say that since Peter Reid's been on, there's a little more semblance of order in the England team, but not at the back at that moment. It was just missed by Watson there, which deceived Sansom, who knocked it right into the path of the attacker. But if Bobby Robson was thinking about leaving Reedy out of his party, I don't think now, even in this sort of 15 minutes he's been there, that he would do that. There's a boot flown right across the pitch there. I'm not too sure which player it's come from at the moment.
I think what was significant, it's Peter Reid, and look, he's challenging and has won the ball twice now with a foot that had no protection at all. And that's typical of the men's guts and determination. And I'm sure that they're not qualities that Bobby Robson will drop lightly. It might also be said, looking back on last Wednesday as well, that really boots come off far too easily these days on football fields. Shot came from Geiger. Bonvin enjoying the refreshment after another Swiss miss. Problem with the right foot too, by the looks of it. According to the stadium clock to our left, we're moving into the last minute of the match. Herman. Suter. Mottier. Ball waiting for a cross. Mottier waiting too to find the right moment. The testing cross too, met by Waddle. Reid. Beardsley. Barnes starts to go. Weber has come across, but Barnes there first. Reid. No movement to his right. Now Waddle is in the centre forward position, but a lack of concentration by Barnes. Herman. Waddle again from a defensive position.
Well, that's the end of it. Not a brilliant performance, but I suppose a satisfactory one from England's point of view. They'll claim that they restricted the Swiss to very few opportunities. Their defensive discipline was good, but the vitality and spark and fire wasn't in the front players who've made such reputations this season. And we can hope that in the next 15 days, with a few vitamin pills, that comes back.
So the final score in Lausanne, with Bobby Robson probably not learning too much as he didn't know already, is Switzerland 0, England 1.
Well, the fans behaved themselves, thank heavens, but not terribly inspiring. But then I guess it was never going to be really
No,
that sort of match, was it?
It just kept them ticking over. 2 weeks tomorrow to the Republic of Ireland. Once again, it showed. I mean, they created a few chances, and the man Lineker did it again. 26 in 29 starts. That is phenomenal.
And the defence looked solid.
Yes, they look pretty good. And even Dave Watson, when he came on for Tony Adams, it looks quite good, really.
OK, Bob, thanks very much indeed. Well, in the playoffs, a disastrous day for Chelsea, both on and off the field, but things had begun so well for them this afternoon.
Monster's little pass through, Dixon's touch, and Wilson to Nevin. Nevin's chip, Dury! That has opened it up. Now we really have got a playoff on our hands. Nevin has always looked dangerous taking men on. Pulls back the cross, first time from Dury, and Fair stranded.
An early goal there by Dury, and it looked good for Chelsea at that point, but Middlesbrough held out to win 2-1 on aggregate. They go up, Chelsea go down, and then we had these rather unsightly scenes at the end of the match, Bob.
Yes, I don't know quite how that gate was unattended, Des, really.